Welcome to A Girl, a Guy, and a Buffy podcast, Small Bites edition. I'm your co-host, Kate Balzer.
And I'm Charles Swint. So our Small Bites episodes are discussions we had in the main episode that didn't quite fit the overall conversation, but we still wanted to share with you all.
We hope you enjoy these tasty conversational bites. We promise, no angry puppy scars from listening. In this Small Bites, we are continuing the conversation from the main episode, discussing Xander Harris, his trauma, and how that impacts his relationships. This time, we're just focusing on Xander Harris, demon magnet. Just because we wanted to focus on his bigger relationships in the main episode, but I mean, you can't discuss Xander in relationships without discussing his demon magnet status.
he is a stud for those demons. Yeah. They just keep coming at him. Yeah. Like, it's such a bizarre thing to give your character to be like this. But here's the thing. I want to, now that I've said it, please go back and listen to the main episode for part of this discussion, because we talk about how Xander's always getting on Buffy and like the idea that like, well, you would choose this dead thing over me or whatever. Right. But he's doing the same thing. I guess the difference is that his is more inadvertent. Like when he chooses women to be with, he's like, oh, you look like a nice normal girl. And then it turns out to be a demon, which is probably, I wonder if that has more to say with, is that a commentary on dating, and then like you date a woman and like she turns out to be like that crazy girl, or that, right, you know, that sort of thing. I'm wondering if that's what we're going with. If high school is drama or whatever, then are we saying that women be crazy in these sort of like, is that the parallel that we're trying to draw here?
Yeah,
with him.
I can see where that's coming from. I feel like it was more on Xander than the women. And of course, it was just, they did it for a running joke. I mean, like the basic minimum of it is that it was done for a running joke.
Sure.
So kind of putting that aside and taking it to the next level, it still continues to show him in these like relationships that are their own traumatic moments, you know, and they play into like the tropes, kind of going into those like 80s, you know, the way boys are portrayed about sex and, you know, horniness or whatever, plays into those tropes too, especially with obviously Mrs. French.
Yeah.
Of the boy wanting like the hot, you know, being hot for teacher and wanting to be noticed by her, especially when like the hot athlete in the, I forget what Blaine was, probably a football player, but you know, he was getting attention, and then you get that attention from the hot teacher, you know, makes you feel like a stud, and she invites you over for like a real drink instead of, I mean, I think we were all obviously supposed to see it as inappropriate, but I think it also was played for like the laughs and this idea of like, this is how we show boys and sex and horniness.
Right. I mean, it's very classic TV things. And I think we all knew that, oh, this is an inappropriate thing, but also had it been any other show, it would have been like, oh, this is really inappropriate. Right. Where, because it's Buffy, we were like, oh, Xander's in trouble. Like, you know, we knew it wasn't going to be anything inappropriate. We just knew that Xander was going to be in trouble with this. And so I think you could get away with a little bit more.
Yeah.
In there, but yeah, I think it's it's building on, here's another like traumatic moment that you've had. And again, just making really bad decisions.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, as you said, I think the demon aspect takes over the real life inappropriate aspect. Mm-hmm. And so that's also why it never gets really, like you said, on any other show that was like, did not have a supernatural element, they'd be focused on the inappropriateness of a teacher inviting students, whether male or female, to their home for an obvious romantic interlude.
Right.
You know, and then the fact that all the boys are actually virgins and how that reveals the stereotype that Blaine felt like he had to live up to. So in some ways, there's also like a commentary on how, on that trope of teen heterosexual male sexuality. I'm saying like there's sexualities in there way too many times, but you know what I mean. It's specifically looking at like heterosexual males.
Right. Just this idea that they are, you know, even in high school that, you know, oh, you're supposed to have had sex by now and blah, 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 blah. And all this. That's like, you're in high school, dude. Like, calm down. Like,
yeah.
You're 15. Like,
yeah. There should be like no cool factor on whether you have or had not sex
Right. I
You
mean,
know,
and if you've
it's
had sex, that's, whatever. I'm not
right.
gatekeeping anybody's sexuality or sexual exploits. I certainly have no room to talk, and I'm not gonna like, I'm not slut shaming anybody.
No,
But
it's
yeah,
and it's less about that person's choice and more the societal
right, those societal
expectations are,
expectations to have
yeah,
that you must have sex by this time or whatever, or when
yeah,
you're dating someone, oh, that means you're having sex, right? Oh. There's an immaturity around it for sure, that
yes,
because two people have decided to spend time together, that they've decided to get naked and do things together, which is such a weird assumption. Like, why would you assume that?
right.
Like, why is that the go-to?
So Empada, I mean, I feel like with Empada, there's again, it's sort of that, oh, there's a cute girl. I got to jump on this. Like judging Buffy for the fact that at first we thought this was a boy, which it was supposed to be before
Right,
Empada took his place. And Xander was all like, oh, jealous and possessive and dismissive. And then cute girl shows up and he's like, I got to jump on that.
right. The
Again,
hypocrisy
just
of all that.
hypocrisy and again, bad decision making.
But I will say, I think with Impata that there is sort of a sweetness in that story, and
Agreed.
I feel this is probably less about sex
Yeah.
and more about like, oh, this is kind of nice. So I did like the sort of juxtaposition of that, like where he's not so much as trying to get on, he's not trying to hit that. Like,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it was more that like it was sweet in that she was sort of getting that quote unquote normal teen experience, normal American
Mhm.
teen experience.
Yeah,
Too, he was able to provide her with that before things went downhill and she tried to suck his life force out.
yeah.
Because that's how, most dates end.
Because that's how, well, and that's how all dates end, Kate, when you're in high school, is that you go
That's
out on a
true.
date with a girl and then you're just like having hamburgers and fries at the malt shop, seeing a movie at the drive-in, and then she's trying to suck the life force out of you.
Yes, that's
Hell is old as
exactly.
time.
I mean, do we have to tell that again and again like we do? Yeah, so in some ways it was a sweet, sad story
Yeah.
overall. I would agree. In that case, like it is kind of funny that each of them had somebody demonic in their life come into their lives that they didn't know at first. So, Buffy had Angel. I mean, he sticks around, but she doesn't realize he's a vampire at first.
Right.
And then Willow had Moloch, and
Yes.
then Xander gets Empada.
All of them.
So,
Duped.
yes, yes, they're never gonna have a healthy relationship, and they realize that early on. We should have paid attention to the text at that point.
Duped by the forces of evil.
They were foreshadowing
They were like, this is
what
not
was
going to
to
work.
come.
I mean, and what was his other? So then Miss French, Empada, and then
It's not romantic, but obviously there's the whole thing with Dracula, and then that continues on to the comics. It's like I said, when we did our prep call, it's part of the comics that I didn't read,
oh,
I
okay.
believe, but
What
there
happens there? Do you know what happens there? Because I have not
apparently,
read
like
that
I
far.
read the sort of summary of it, okay, I actually read this the other day to like refresh my memory, but they like write letters to each other, I think, and then Drac like summons Xander to him, or he's going through like this depressive period, and he asks, and so like Xander goes to like help him out. They like develop this friendship, but it's like kind of unhealthy friendship, at least I think on Xander's side.
Hmm.
And then there's a whole thing with like Dracula loses like his powers because some Japanese vampires like steal it. I don't know. There's a whole like thing, but there is a lot of like back and forth with a relation, like a friendship relationship with Dracula and Xander.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wonder how that works out. I have to read that because I don't remember that at all.
Oh, then it has to, and this is all happening in the season where like after Twilight happens and Buffy and Angel have sex and steal magic, and then a book comes into it, and like whoever writes in it, that magically comes true. So like Dracula gets the book and he makes Xander write in it and basically makes him like all powerful, but then eventually they like stop Dracula.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that because I don't. I think maybe I missed that season.
Yeah, like I said,
Um,
I don't think I read that season. I just read the summary of it, and probably on the Buffyverse wiki is where I was
okay.
reading it. Yeah. So I mean, again, not romantic, but another demon relationship.
But he was his butt monkey, so
Yeah.
I don't, I mean,
I mean, the sense I
mm,
got of it from the summary I read was there is to some degree, I think, on Dracula's side that he cares for Xander in a way, but and I'm talking about going into the comics, not
yeah,
necessarily the one episode that was actually
right.
on the show.
I mean, even just in that too. I mean, there's not, I mean, he's very much like in the show, he's very much like, again, the fool, but like
Right.
enthralled and all of that stuff. Was it Harmony that calls him Dracula's butt monkey?
No, he calls it himself. It's at the end of the episode when after she's stopped Dracula and he comes running out and he's like, no more, he does this whole thing and no more Mr. Butt Monkey. And she's like, check, no more Butt Monkey.
Gotcha. Right, right, right.
Something like
That's one of
that.
the episodes that I don't watch very often.
Oh, Dracula?
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I tend to skip over it. I should go back and watch it though, because
I
I
think for
real.
finally bringing in like a historic vampire that like
Hmm.
kind of modern vampire stories were built on, it was a letdown.
Yeah.
Like it should have been grander.
Yeah, I felt like
Um,
it should have something else. I wanted
yeah.
something else out. I remember not liking it very much. I don't know. The phrasing of the word butt monkey has a whole lot of like implications
Yeah.
to me. And so the fact that those are the words that he chose to say about himself, I don't know. I wasn't there. Wasn't in the castle when it happened. Just saying.
True. We don't know what happens between scenes.
Exactly. There's a lot going on. Don't know what Xander was doing. So uh
All right. Well, and I mean, obviously Anya ex demon, but we've already like delved into her in the
right.
main episode. And then as far as I can remember, it's just Lissa in season 7.
Yeah, just Lissa.
It's his first attempt at like getting back in the saddle after leaving Anya at the altar.
Right. And he makes the weird bondage joke.
Yeah.
Where it's like, wow, you've got some game. That's his thing. He likes demon women, and that's
Yeah. I think the thing of it is like, dude, just embrace it.
yeah, just go with it. Just like just it's there. Like, why
It's
not?
okay.
No one's judging you.
Basically Willow and Buffy have only dated like supernatural or supernatural adjacent people. I mean,
Yeah,
Willow's got Oz and he turned into a werewolf. Tara's a witch. Kennedy's a slayer. So then you got Buffy with 2 vampires. I mean, like I said, Raleigh's adjacent because he's in that world and he got manipulated in a
right.
slightly different way. Not that he had supernatural powers.
But he was still human. Like he's the only human that other than Scott Hope
Right.
that she dated. But yeah, like Xander, just go with it.
Right.
You should just assume. And I think they make, the joke when they go out. It's like, just make the assumption that whoever you're going out with is probably going to be a demon.
That's more my thing. Like by the time you reach season 7, why are you not wondering it to begin with
Right.
if I'm
Like,
attracted to somebody who might turn out to be a
just be
demon?
like, hey, no, this might be a weird question, but are you a demon? I'm
Right.
just, if so, what kind? Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Is
Or
that
something.
offensive? Is it offensive to like go up to somebody who has like a human face form and be like, hey, so are you a demon? Is that
I
like
mean, I don't
demonist?
know.
Is that like,
Probably to some degree. I feel like maybe you do it in a way where you're like, oh, hey, I'm so and so from wherever. So you could be like, hey, I'm Xander. I'm human. What are you? What
like,
species
what
are
are
you?
your, like, it's like announcing your
What's your
pronouns.
sign?
It's like announcing your pronouns. I'm Xander, human. He, him, human.
Yeah.
Um,
And a Sagittarius. What are
and a
you?
Sagittarius, what's your sign? I'm Alyssa. I'm she, her, and a Grothlock demon, and I'm a Capricorn.
Oh, and I wish it the first evil. Is that going to be a
Is that going to
problem?
be a problem? Then we fight. I mean, I
Exactly.
think that's the only thing that's really how they should really start identifying in
I know.
Sunnydale is just being like pronouns and species. Why didn't we think
Exactly.
of that before?
I know, right? So overall, I kind of enjoy the joke of it,
Yeah.
the running gag of it, but also recognizing like other things on the show, maybe maybe some of it's questionable.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely trauma for comedy's sake,
Yeah, for sure.
Which most good comedy is born out of trauma. So
that's true. What is it? Tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Yep.
I guess the questionable aspect is time. For some people, a week is fine. For other people, it's like I need a few years.
Some people are like, yeah, is this too soon? Can we talk about this now? Is that okay? Well,
that's Xander Harris.
That is Demon Magnet. Xander Demon Magnet.
I feel like he needs business cards like James Bond, and he needs cards.
Xander Harris.
Yeah, Demon exactly. Magnet. Demon Magnet. Exactly.
He might get more dates that way.
I was like, just put it out there.
It's on his Hinge profile. Like, just like, something that you'd be surprised to know about me is that I am a demon magnet. Most of my early girlfriends have been demons, and yeah, and I hang out with slayers.
Yeah, exactly. Be honest. Be upfront.
Just be upfront about it. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Small Bites. Let us know your thoughts about the episode by leaving a review or rating us wherever you listen to your podcast.
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at A Buffy Podcast and email us at abuffypodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.